Is it time to retire the 30-06? Today we're going to find out, so buckle up. Hi everybody, welcome back to LocaCarnivore. Glad you could join us. We're talking about the age-old question, is it finally time to retire the 30-06? In a year, it's going to be 120 years old. That's a long time for any cartridge to be around. Don't get me wrong, the 30-06 is a fantastic cartridge. It has been around so long because it is good. However, you know, you fanboys, here comes the 30-06 fanboys to talk to me about this whole issue. We need to talk about whether or not it's finally time to retire this thing. And its military service record with the U.S. Armed Forces is 2 wins and 1 tie, so that's a pretty good record. And the thing served from 1906 when it was introduced all the way up to it was officially retired when the 7.62x51 came out. What, about 1956-57 with the M14, and it still soldiered on in the M19 machine guns and a few other applications, but as the mainline cartridge, it was done by the late 50s. That's a pretty good record, though. It's a pretty good run. When the 30-06 was originally introduced, it was one of the most powerful rifle cartridges available anywhere. It was rivaled only realistically by the 7.92x57, aka the 8mm Mauser, and other cartridges that are more powerful, like the 375 H&H, wouldn't be out for another half decade or better, or even longer, before those made their debuts. So the 30-06 had a reputation as being very powerful for its time and in its day. Now the 30-06 has taken every single type of game animal, from rabbits all the way to elephants, that you can imagine. If it walks on the planet Earth, someone somewhere has dropped it with a 30-06. It is still probably the most popular cartridge in the world. It sells like hotcakes in Europe, it's used in Africa, Asia, everywhere you go you can find 30-06. Before we can talk about retiring this old warhorse, we should get a quick overview of why it is so popular. And I would say its greatest attribute is versatility. This cartridge will handle bullet weights from 100 grains all the way up to 250 grains. And it can be used for any type of game animal. So it is very versatile, and that is probably what keeps it going the most. Now, having said that, it does most of its work in the hunting field with 150 to 180 grain bullets. There are some applications out there where people use the 220s or even the 250 Woodleys. Those bullet weights are used, but they're not very common. So again, 150 to 180 grain. So in that general range there, it actually has a lot of competition, and there are cartridges that have been around for a long time. Hey, you Creedmoor fans and you PRC fans, guess what? We're not going to talk about a single one of your cartridges as replacing the 30-06. Get over it. But there are a bunch of cartridges that have been out for a long time that do give the 30-06 a run for its money, and quite frankly, probably could do a better job. And they do a better job in many respects. We're going to take 5 cartridges that are better choices for most situations, and for very specific situations as well, that the 30-06 is used for, and compare and show you why those cartridges are actually probably better than the 30-06. And we're going to talk about several factors. First of all, it's going to be recoil, and then the downrange energy of the cartridge and its downrange drop. And we're talking by downrange, we're going to limit it to 400 yards. You long range, 1,500 yard elk pokers can just sit this one out. We're going to talk about realistic ranges for realistic. Most hunters are shooting their animals well within inside 400 yards. So if you've got a cartridge that reaches out to 400, you're fine. But we're going to talk about what the 30-06 does under those circumstances, and then why it is replaceable and why it should be replaced by these other cartridges. All right, we're going to talk about the recoil here, and the 30-06, in my opinion, is, I would call it a mid-range cartridge for recoil. It's not super heavy, nor is it super mild. And if you ever shot one, you'll know what I'm saying. It will definitely let you know you shot it. We're going to also talk about how the recoil is measured. It's measured in what's called foot-pounds free recoil energy, or foot-pounds F for free. And that means the amount of energy that's delivered directly to the shooter, the residual energy after the gun is fired. The recoil is measured by considering the bullet weight, the charge of powder behind it, and then the weight of the rifle. And we're going to consider we're just going to standardize this on a 9-pound hunting rifle. That's pretty average for hunting rifles. There's lighter ones, there's heavier ones. Go with 9-pound rifle, and then I'll give you the bullet weight. And then for powder capacity on this calculation, I used either the maximum water capacity of the case with that given bullet weight, or I looked at a reloading manual and kind of figured out what the, average to heavier average charge was for that given bullet weight. Now the 30-06 with a 165 grain bullet will give you 20.46 foot-pounds free recoil energy. Let's compare that to a couple others. The 270 with a 136 grain bullet is 17.17 foot-pounds of free energy. Then you go into the 308, and that's going to give you 16.5 foot-pounds, which is even lighter than the 270, which is interesting, mainly because of the lower powder charge. Then the 7mm Remington Magnum with a 160 grain bullet, 23.4 foot-pounds. How about a 300 Winchester Magnum with a 180 grain bullet, 27.8. And then we have the 375 Holland & Holland, and I'll get to why I'm including that in this list. But with a 300 grain bullet in a 10.5 pound rifle, these stopping rifles are generally heavier than your average hunting rifle. In a 10.5 pound rifle, that's going to slap you with 38.57 foot-pounds. It's definitely going to get your undivided attention. All right, let's talk about actual effectiveness and trajectory. And we're going to again run it out to 400 yards. And with a 165 grain bullet, the 30-06 generally has a drop of about 20.8, almost 21 inches. And your energy, and this is going to vary a little bit with ballistic coefficient, blah, 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 but in the main, your energy is going to be right around 1,500 foot-pounds, a little over 1,500 foot-pounds, which is still at the minimum for, say, elk and moose, those type of animals, and it's perfectly adequate for deer. So is the 30-06 a bad cartridge? No, it obviously delivers pretty good performance. But let's see what we can do better. How can we do this better? Well, let's go to the 270. 270. 18 and change, just a little over 18 inches of drop. So it's got 2 inches less drop at 400 yards, and this is with a 136 grain bullet. Kind of split the difference there between the 130 and the 140. And your energy is still 1,560 foot-pounds. So it actually has a few more foot-pounds of energy than the 30-06, about 30 more. So we'll call it neck and neck. So if you've got less recoil, flatter trajectory, and it hits just as hard at the same range, you kind of scratch your head like, why do I need the 30-06? Well, wait, there's more. Let's move over to the 308, shall we? And I love the 308. 165 grain bullet, so we're talking apples and apples with the 30-06. Drop is 24.5 inches, and we have an energy of 1,453 foot-pounds. So yes, it's about 2 inches more drop, but is that all that important in most cases, say inside of 400 yards? I would suggest it's not that vital. And yes, you're dropping on energy just a little bit, right around 80 foot-pounds, but you still have enough to get the job done. It's just kind of a little borderline for elk at that range, in my opinion. And you're getting a lot less recoil with the 308, almost 4 foot-pounds of energy less for free recoil than the 30-06. And you're still doing essentially the same work, which, I always say the 308 will do 90% of the jobs that the 30-06 will do for a lot less fuss and bother. And there you go. So let's move up the power scale a little more. 7mm Remington Magnum. And this cartridge is a great alternative to the 30-06 for the following reason. Your drop at 400 yards is 20 inches. Right even. So it's got the same trajectory, and this is with a 160 grain bullet. And you can improve that even better with a higher weight bullet like a 175 or something like that. They'll shoot even flatter, but it's the same trajectory, but it's delivering 1,700 and almost 60 foot-pounds of energy, 1,757. So we're way up on the energy for just as flatter trajectory, and depending on the bullet you select and everything, the 7 Rem Mag will probably actually shoot a little flatter than 30-06 for just a pinch more recoil. Again, that's a really good trade-off. It's a very good package, and it's the same length of action on the rifle and everything, so why not? Now let's move to the 300 Winchester Magnum. Your drop there is going to be, with a 200 grain bullet, not the 180, but 200 grain bullet, your drop is 20.6 inches. So it's roughly the same trajectory, but it will deliver over 2,200 foot-pounds of energy at that range. It's just absolutely amazing. So it kind of begs the question, if the 300 Winchester Magnum is out there and you're just having to put up with maybe a few more pounds, 7 more pounds of recoil, which is more, but given the amount of power you're applying to the target, it just really makes a lot more sense in my opinion. It's just a better cartridge all around. It will do far more things for you than the 30-06 ever could. And then you're talking the 375 H&H. Well, it's not considered a long-range cartridge. With the 300 grain bullet, it still has pretty close to the same drop as the 180 grain, as a 180 grain bullet in 30-06. So you're talking at 400 yards, roughly about 24 to 26 inches. And the energy is going to be really high. You're going to be close to 2,500 foot-pounds, 23 to 2,500 foot-pounds of energy, depending on bullet choice, at 400 yards. So it is still a freight train, even at those ranges. So it's really hard. And yes, you're going to have more recoil, but if you need that much power, especially up close on dangerous beasties, the 375 H&H is going to be far better than the 30-06. And by the way, if you want some more content, some great merchandise, go to our website, LocaCarnivore.com. Links down in the description there. We'd appreciate it. Make sure you hit the merch tab so you can get some groovy LocaCarnivore merchandise. While we're at it, what do you think about the 30-06? Have you hunted with it? Do you not like it? Do you like it? Go down in the comments. Let us know. We'd appreciate it. Well, there you go. There is a very good case for retiring the 30-06. However, is it going to go anytime soon? No. I mean, after all, it helped win 2 wars and it helped stem the tide of communist expansion in the 1950s. Hard to beat that track record. And as a hunting gun cartridge, again, there's a gazillion rifles out there that are chambered for it. It's not going away anytime soon. So you fanboys, you can calm down. Yeah, I'm going to get hate mail, but calm down. Your cartridge is not going away. But I think you need to be objective about this and think, do we really need it? Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us here at the LocaCarnivore. And remember, always insist upon facts. Thanks for watching.
Hands up! Hands up! Hands up.